Hey, what's up, y'all? I was popping this D. About to react to this video by Nathy. This is Beyonce, Rihanna, and Nicki Minaj, the Holy Trinity of music, and their impact on 2010's music. Okay, we're gonna see what they have to say. Also, I just recently reacted to Nicki Minaj's full live performance of her Rollin' Loud set. That is on my Patreon, so go check that out. Link down in the description if y'all want to see it. But yeah, we're gonna see what they have to say about these three. Let's watch.
Beyonce,
Rihanna,
Nicki Minaj,
the most holy trinity.
Beyonce, Rihanna, and Nicki Minaj, the Holy Trinity of music.
Yes.
If you've been on fan Twitter or social media really, you would have seen these three women often grouped together and collectively referred to as the Holy Trinity. But why? Because if looked at individually, these three artists couldn't be any different from one another. Beyonce debuted in the mid to late 90s as part of Destiny's Child, whose music took on a more R&B and contemporary route. Rihanna debuted in the mid 2000s and is known for her pop-centric singles and fashion style. And Nicki Minaj became mainstream in the early 2010s as a pioneer for female rappers and pop rap in general. All three debuted at different decades and whose music and brand has its own identity. These female artists have created their own lanes and are icons on their own. The fact that neither of them have actually been seen conversing as a trio, despite being in multiple events at the same time, or that the three of them haven't collabed together is crazy, considering that any of those three mentioned, or even just a pick honestly, would break the internet. Despite this, people still love to fantasize about the Holy Trinity, creating artworks of them together, jumping at any rumor that they might be collabing, or just the three of them being considered the pinnacle of black women being in the top
that would be
13,
dope.
because they just mesh well together. It just makes sense for these three powerful black women to be the Holy Trinity of music. And today, we will be going deep into this and see what Beyonce, Rihanna, and Nicki Minaj is truly the Holy Trinity of music. Shout out to Upladder for sponsoring today's video. Upladder is a compilation YouTube channel.
Y'all
so if
go
you're
support
into the
my
Christian
brother.
doctrine's definition of the Holy Trinity, as it is the most common version that people know. The Holy Trinity in the Christian doctrine refers to the unity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as three persons in one Godhead. Anyways, referring to something as the Holy Trinity of a particular art form or thing has become commonplace since the birth of the internet and social media. And that's because things as a trio is just so satisfying. That's why trilogies work so well. And that's also why the Holy Trinity of music was born. I think we need to set the scene as to why the Holy Trinity of music was even conceived. During the late 90s to early 2000s, black women was everywhere in the music industry. You can see them topping the charts, becoming moguls, and just being successful all around. Beyonce was one of those women who ran the music industry during that time period. She was obviously part of the best-selling girl group of all time, Destiny's Child, and she also had a majorly successful solo career run during the 2000s, with hits like Crazy in Love, Irreplaceable, Single Ladies, If I Were a Boy, Halo, and so many more. Rihanna was also one of the 2000s women who took over the music industry. Though she covers more the late 2000s with songs like Pon de Replay, Umbrella, Don't Stop the Music, Disturbia, Take a Bow, Rude Boy, and many more. Then, once the 2010s decade started to creep in and pop music started to take over the charts, black women dominating the music industry started to decrease. Female rappers got the short end of the stick because they went completely extinct once 2010 hit, until a little girl named Nicki Minaj came in and revived the entire female rap scene. Though Nicki was already in the music industry around the 2010s, creating mixtapes and mostly being an underground artist, she fully became mainstream at the start of the 2010s, with hits like Your Love, Fly, Moment for Life, Super Bass, Beast in the Trap, Starships, and many more, solidifying her spot as the female rapper of the decade. Beyonce and Rihanna were one of the few black women who was able to transition from the 2010s to the early 2010s. And with Nicki Minaj taking on a pop rap sound, they were the only black woman really dominating pop in the 2010s. And just the world in general, they were one of the last true A-listers that we had. Like actual global superstars who are recognized all over the world. Like everyone knows who Nicki Minaj is, everyone knows what Rihanna looks like, everyone knows how Beyonce sounds. They're just like actual superstars. To truly understand their impact, I feel like we have to look at each other separately and see what makes them worthy to be part of this Holy Trinity that we have, by assigning them roles from the Holy Trinity. Also note that I will be focusing on their 2010 successes, as that is a big part of why they are even considered the Holy Trinity. More on that later.
Are you insane?
Beyonce, the epitome of the word entertainer. She can do it all. She can sing, dance, act, do all three at the same time. She can produce. She's just Beyonce. Beyonce is the alpha and the omega when it comes to contemporary black women performers breaking barriers and doing it on their own terms. She has broken so many barriers for black women in the music industry, and she has broken into pop culture in the world like no other woman or even man has before. She set the standard of black girl excellence in music that allowed for the careers of Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, and so many more black women to thrive in the ways that it has. She has single-handedly inspired every single female artist and performer since her debut, even if some female artist is doing it unconsciously. Beyonce isn't even the standard because 99.9% of these artists can't reach Beyonce's level. She's beyond the standard. She is the peak.
You are Beyonce.
And
Beyonce's megastardom, combined with her intentional personal ambiguity, leaves her contributions unquestioned by most and makes the concept of Beyonce somewhat mythical. Beyonce's icon status has spanned years. She became a household name as the leader of Destiny's Child, one of the most popular girl groups of all time. When she finally decided to go solo, her first solo album, Dangerously in Love, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 albums chart and helped nab her 5 Grammy Awards. That success continued with her subsequent work, and she landed a leading role in Dreamgirls and started many more hits over the years. As the 2010s decade rolled around, Beyonce started adopting a more secretive lifestyle, rarely going on interviews and only seen when she wants to be seen. Rather than using social media to let people know what's going on with her life or what she's feeling, she instead uses her music to let it all out. Music became her medium of communication to her fans in the world. This is why she started placing an emphasis on albums and why she became more of an albums artist instead of a singles artist. Her 2010 albums, For Beyonce Lemonade, and her newest 2022 album, Renaissance, is a testament to this fact. Her self-titled album's now iconic surprise drop changed the way music was consumed.
I reacted to her album on my Patreon, and I was supposed to give an update on how I feel about it now, but I'll just give it here. No. It's still no. You know, I have not gone back and listened to none of the songs. I do listen to I'm That Girl sometimes, but this album it didn't do it for me personally. For me personally.
Beyonce was, in essence, selling her lead. Widespread hysteria around the album caused it to trend on Twitter, where it racked up millions of tweets in mere hours. Tweets that were filled with praise from fans and fellow artists alike. Beyonce also referred to this album as a visual album, with each song being accompanied by a video, and they were presented together as a body of work. The album, its rollout, and the accompanying visuals raised the bar for what we consumers expect, and showed that taking risks, when you know your fan base, can pay off in a huge way. And it seemed to inspire other musicians to follow suit and break the mold. Artists like Ariana Grande, whose single, Thank You Next, scored Ariana her first #1 single without any of the traditional promotions, has spoken out about wanting to drop music in a way that feels true to herself. In a world where so much music comes out all the time, surprising fans with music that genuinely showcases the artist's talents appears to generate major wins. If an artist wants their fanbase to actually buy the album, they've got to think outside the box and deliver something innovative and fresh. The album sold over 617,000 copies in the United States on its first 3 days. And the album was also a prelude to the Beyonce that we now know. An artist who understands the importance and impact someone of her status can have when she uses her platform to shift culture. Lemonade introduced us to a more social justice-oriented and politically active side of Beyonce. She shook up the Super Bowl 50 halftime show with a Black Panther homage, and even walked the VMA red carpet with mothers of black men who died because of police brutality. Beyonce cultivated her name and persona in a way that she is basically untouchable. She just holds so much power on the music industry. She's omnipresent, appearing via reference and or association even when we can't physically see or hear her. She's a concept, a feeling, a force of energy that many of us attempt to revel in on a regular basis. Beyonce is Beyonce. I don't know how else to describe it.
what's up, y'all? It's Nicki Minaj.
Nicki's role in the Trinity is ironic, given that all these bitches are her sons, but it remains true nevertheless. Though she created the playground that modern-day female rap is on, she isn't afraid to say when playtime is over, especially when her sons are acting out. In fact, Nicki really isn't afraid to say anything, even if it lands her in hot water. Nicki is someone who stands 10 toes deep in what she says and what she believes in, from her wild costumes, her alter ego.
My cousin in Trinidad.
We have grown accustomed to. Nicki Minaj has always been willing to go against the grain, especially as a rapper in an industry that has been predefined by specific masculinity. In order to demonstrate the power of black girl brilliance, the camp aesthetic and crazy persona that she exhibited during her early years showed other black women that it is okay to be camp and be crazy the way other white female pop stars have been, and still be successful. She showed that it is possible to transcend the material limitations on black women as exhibited in mass media. Nicki Minaj has become a zeitgeist in pop culture, and she has impacted pop culture in such a meaningful and substantial way. She's deeply embedded into modern day pop culture.
Yes, fuck it up. Wow.
Funny reaction videos.
What was that?
Beefs, which I have talked about. Check it out after watching this video. Hell, even her IG lives and sound bites. You cannot scroll TikTok without at least hearing a Nicki Minaj sound every 10 minutes. 3/4 of the female rappers out now wouldn't even exist without Nicki Minaj. And the 3 other main female rappers that have actually become mainstream would have never reached the level of success that they have if Nicki Minaj didn't open the doors that she did. And we haven't even talked about the Barb's impact. Nicki used to sell her mixtapes on her car, in which bitch made $1 million of a mixtape. Then, over a decade later, she has cemented her place as the queen of rap.
Alright, so this video on my Patreon.
Her debut album, Pink Friday, remains as one of the biggest debuts still of the 2000s decade. She was able to mix pop and rap seamlessly, dominating both genres separately and at the same time. Her biggest hit to date, Super Bass, was actually not even part of the original Pink Friday album. It was a deluxe album track for Pink Friday, and now it's a diamond record. Her second studio album, album, Pink Friday Roman Reloaded, continues her experimentation with pop and rap even more, creating hits like Starships, Bees in the Trap, Right by My Side, and so much more. Her third studio album, The Pink Print, which some people consider as her magnum opus, is her most personal album to date, as we see a more stripped down version of Nicki. And this album is one of her most versatile as well. This album had deep album cuts like Grand Piano or All Things Go, a few tracks away from hits like Anaconda and Feeling Myself. Queen took on a more hip-hop route and sees Nicki
I really
flex
like this
her lyrical
album.
pen. Her features have also become a cultural talking point, even outshining the lead artists on their own songs. And I think we have to give Nicki props for the fact that she has become such a global icon with only 4 albums. Nicki actually
This
has
song
half
was
the
everything.
albums that Rihanna and Beyonce has. Beyonce even more so if we consider Destiny's Child's albums. Nicki also is the newest artist to become mainstream compared to Beyonce and Rihanna. So the fact that she has achieved the same cultural cash that Beyonce and Rihanna has is impressive. It's also important to note that Nicki was able to be at the top of a genre that is predominantly ran by men. In fact, at the time when Nicki came in, female rap was dead. No female rappers was
Yeah,
charting at the time.
that is
Labels were
true.
hesitant to sign Nicki because female rappers just wasn't a viable business at the time. Nicki shook the game and showed that female rappers are not only a viable business, they can also be a very profitable one, and at the top of their game.
She
Nicki
put female
created
rappers
different
back
hip-hop
on the fucking map,
rappers.
'cause
She
they
is
were
known
off
for
the
being
map.
on hip-hop. Often duplicated, never replicated.
Completely.
Nicki has fought for streaming rights for artists, and she has lended so much to the culture, but she is not afforded the same protections that respectability lends Beyonce. Nicki is consistently sacrificed by the industry despite her important message. All these bitches are her sons, but Nicki is the son.
Because all these bitches is my sons. Remember it as Rihanna. Remember it as being the artist from the Caribbean who came here and made it.
Rihanna, the epitome of the carefree black girl, a powerful position to hold in an industry steeped in misogynoir. Rihanna is someone who embodies the who cares attitude. She
I need to
does
go to
what she wants,
Barbados.
and she rarely cares about what people are gonna say. She's
What's the best
unpredictable and
month to go to
undiscerning and
Barbados?
unleashing that power. Where Nicki Minaj will clearly articulate to her millions of Twitter followers or go off on Queen Radio about how black women are undervalued in white-dominated industries, Rihanna will simply rock a doobie rap to a fancy event that has been neutralized by whiteness to make a statement. While Beyonce gracefully rests on the Forbes list, Rihanna yells, "Bitch better have my money." She exudes that carefree, I don't give a fuck vibe. And her songs reflect that too. She's unapologetic without seeming too loud, and she's bold without looking like a tryhard. She makes everything she does look so easy and so smooth. She has been named as one of Time's most influential people in the world. She's a cultural trendsetter. She's a fashion powerhouse
she
in
just
the
had a
beauty
baby.
mogul. And she's also praised as a symbol for body positivity. Thanks to her penchant for proudly showing off her nipples and a nonchalant attitude amidst criticism of any weight gain. Known for her catchy singles, beauty, and amazing fashion style, she has been able to commercialize those aspects by creating multiple businesses related to those, such as Fenty Beauty, Savage X Fenty, her Fenty clothing line. Even before that, she was already partnering with clothing brands to create successful capsule collections, and even becoming the creative director for Puma's women's business. Rihanna is now currently worth over $1.7 billion, which makes her the wealthiest female musician, and second only to Oprah Winfrey as the richest female entertainer. Her business acumen definitely deserves its tens. Like, come on, guys.
Give her her tens. Give her her tens. Give her what she's... that's one thing about me. I give tens what tens to do until if you look crazy, until if you look stupid.
She's the youngest self-made billionaire. She used her already big status as Rihanna, the music, and she rebranded into Rihanna, the businesswoman. She has sold more than 200 million records worldwide, making her one of the best-selling solo artists of all time. Unlike Nicki and Beyonce, who are very meticulous about their albums and can be considered as album artists, Rihanna is very much a singles artist. That's why Rihanna has 14 #1 songs on the Hot 100. Her 2010 hits, We Found Love, Where Have You Been, Poured Up, Diamonds, Stay, 4 or 5 Seconds, Bitch Better Have My Money, Work, Needed Me, and so many more are a testament to this fact. Her most recent album, Anti, is where Rihanna truly
That was so
out,
long
and I think a
ago.
lot of
That's
people
her
will
last
agree
album,
that
that's
this
your
is
girl.
her magnum opus. Anti showed the world that Rihanna was ready to leave the pop assembly line and get personal. Since her 2005 debut album, Music of the Sun, Rihanna released a new album almost every year, with a deluxe reloaded edition of Good Girl Gone Bad, filling a gap in 2008. Following 2012's Unapologetic, Rihanna had also been expanding her empire into other industries, from film to fashion, while dropping a string of singles to appease the masses. With divergent sounds on each single, critics and fans didn't know what to expect from Anti. The unorthodox cover art was equally inscrutable, engulfed in a wash of red paint, holding a balloon, and wearing an oversized crown that covers her eyes. The artwork also featured a poem in
That is
Braille,
dope.
entitled If They Let Us Part 1, which made the album's narrative arc more clear. I sometimes fear that I am misunderstood. It is simply because what I want to say, what I need to say, won't be heard in a way I so rightfully deserve. Rihanna hasn't released an album since 2000. 2006, and fans have been eagerly waiting for her return. And even without releasing any music, she still is consistently one of the most streamed artists every year. The thing about Rihanna is that hype for her music seems to just be growing as the years come by, as we all await her comeback, which means Rihanna's comeback needs to be monstrous for it to even be worth the wait. But I have faith in Rihanna. These three black women couldn't be any different from one another. But what they do have in common is that they were in the 2010s in their own respective genres and lanes. They have contributed so much to pop culture and they are still in the game after so many years. That's why people consider them the Holy Trinity. Because for a decade,
I've never heard that, but that's
white
funny.
female pop stars, they stood out as women who embodied black girl magic. And they just had that it factor. And all three of them are still thriving and honestly will never go away. They have cemented themselves in pop culture so much that their cultural holiness will never fade. They'll remain forever, I fear. Beyonce showed us that we needed to have an opinion and be a force of nature. Nicki showed us that sometimes we needed to be loud because if we weren't, they wouldn't listen to us. And Rihanna showed us that we shouldn't care about what other people thought and just be us. And together, they all showed us that it is possible to be at the top of our game if we work hard enough and if we have the motivation to do so.
Yes, you better stand for all three of them. This was cool, and I agree with him. 1000%. They have made such an impact on music for black women, you know. Nicki Minaj has opened so many doors for female rappers, because, female rap was not a thing. Like, there were, like, none before she came. And I totally agree with him in saying that Rihanna's return to music would have to be epic for people to feel like it was worth the wait, because her last album came out, what was that, like 6 years ago? Like, that's insane. So you better come with some fucking heat if you want to come back, or you gonna look crazy and people gonna be like, what the fuck, I waited this many years for this bullshit. You know, it just makes it even worse when it's not good. It's like, you could have kept this girl. You made us wait damn near a decade for this new music, and this what you got, you know? So if she does return, hopefully it's worth it, the wait. We'll see though. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought. Let me know what other videos you want me to watch, and I'll see y'all the next time. Bye.